So I now want to turn our attention to the consummate American Arcadian president of the 1920s, Calvin Coolidge, and really kind of have a discussion of what Coolidge represents and how in many ways he represents the American experience, countering the European experience of this day. I mentioned to you that for the European intellectual, they are calling upon there to be this kind of great, catastrophic kind of awakening of humankind so as to move things in the right direction. Now, that amounted to many different things across the European continent. Within the Weimar Republic of Germany, it enabled the likes of Adolf Hitler to make his way forward and to be able to capture the experience of many a German who believed themselves wrongly accused of injustice in entering into World War I and wrongly punished for World War I in the form of reparations. So Hitler suggests to his people in the 1930s, you have been wronged. You have been wronged by a Western civilization that wants to hold down German culture. And what we truly need is we truly need Germans to rise up and to take the bull, the civilizational bull by its horns, and to make our case for why we should rightly feel proud of our Aryan German nationhood. You see, what Hitler is offering is some positive vision for the German, that this is what existence is about. You follow me and we'll lead Germany to the promised land. Well, likewise in Italy, Mussolini is leading in a fascist way Italians to believe in what? Well, to believe in the power of a unified Italy that will declare itself to the world proud to be Italian. If you go to Russia, you see a Soviet revolution taking place in the late teens and 20s in which the Soviets are trying to do what? They're trying to create this brave new utopian world by smashing down the powers that be. So sprinkled across the world in the teens and 20s are all of these political experiences that are pointing to some catastrophic lurch to a utopian goal, but not in America, and not under the guidance of Calvin Coolidge. If you want to understand Coolidge, you have to understand where Coolidge is from. And Coolidge is from a small town in the middle of Vermont, and Coolidge never dreamed of becoming president. Coolidge, after his presidency, writes an amazing autobiography in which he kind of goes through just why he got into politics in the first place, what he thought about politics, what he thought about the United States, and why he thought that if we lowered our political expectations and we simply allowed people to live, why simply government getting out of the way and allowing people to do their business would create the best result for humankind. So Coolidge, we're told by Paul Johnson, had no press secretary. He had no desire to kind of bring a lot of attention to himself. And he knew that across the world at this time, there was a trend toward the expansion of government, and he didn't want that to occur in the United States. So he begins to present the office of the presidency in a certain way that really is very well received by the American people. He suggests to the American people that what's most important in a political leader, most important part of a political leader, is to realize that they are unnecessary to the common good. What does he mean by that? We know that good leadership is essential to the common good, but what he's suggesting there is that there's a type of ego that involves itself in politics whereby the leader says, I am essential to your well-being. I am essential to your life going in the right way. And Coolidge says that that's just not true. It's important for any American leader to realize what? That the job could be done by someone else, perhaps equal, if not better. And if you realize that your own personal greatness is not at stake as you're a statesman, then that's going to make those who you lead feel that much more comfortable about who you are. So he emphasizes this in the following: keep things simple. Stay out of people's business. The fewer laws, the better. The more we let the natural cycles of the world, economic improvements and declines, go about at their own pace, the more we do to rein in our desire to make things our own, the better things will be. So I want to go back to something I gave you earlier in the class. Remember when I talked about God and nature and human artifice? Across most of the world in the 20th century is the desire to use human artifice to create or realize these utopian dreams. Coolidge says what? There's only so much we can do with human artifice, and better to do what? Better to do less and allow human nature and kind of a general common sense to take its course than to interfere with all of the various things that take place in this world. Now, the American people respond in kind, and what do we see happen in the United States in the 1920s? We call this time the Roaring '20s. Why? Because the American people, their energy, their effort, their ability to follow common sense rules allows the American economy to take off. And as is pointed out in this chapter, Americans enjoy material well-being like never before. They begin to purchase cars, they begin to get households, transportation systems continue to grow, and you have an America that is enjoying the life of being left alone by its government until the Great Depression. With the Great Depression will come a shifting of gears, a rejection of Coolidge's ideas, but we see in the 20s, according to Maclay, Johnson, and others, that there's room in this world for an American experience that is Arcadian, in which government lets people do their business and stays out of the way.